There are Roblox experiences that show up on your homepage because the algorithm thinks you'll enjoy them. There are Roblox experiences that show up because they're trending. And then there are Roblox experiences that appear like they crawled out of a forgotten corner of the internet at 3 in the morning after surviving exclusively on expired memes and pure chaos. That's exactly how I ended up finding what might be the first ever steal a Brainrot account on Roblox. Now, if you've somehow managed to avoid the Brainrot epidemic that's been spreading across Roblox faster than a free limited item announcement, let me explain. Brainrot games have become one of the biggest genres on the platform. Everywhere you look, somebody is collecting bizarre creatures with names that sound like a keyboard fell down a flight of stairs. You've got characters screaming nonsense, dancing for no reason, making strange noises, and somehow generating billions of visits. The formula is simple. Collect Brainrot, upgrade Brainrot, flex Brainrot. Repeat until your remaining brain cells submit a formal resignation letter. But while scrolling through Roblox one day, I stumbled across something that immediately caught my attention. Instead of collecting Brainrot characters, the game claimed you could literally steal them. Not borrow them, not trade them, not unlock them through progression. Steal them. The title alone sounded like something a supervillain would pitch during a business meeting. Imagine sitting around a conference table and somebody walks in wearing sunglasses indoors and says, "Gentlemen, what if theft was the gameplay loop?" And apparently everyone in the room stood up and applauded because somehow the game existed. Naturally, my curiosity activated immediately. When you see a game called Steal a Brainrot, you don't simply ignore it and move on with your day. That's like finding a mysterious glowing button in the middle of a field with a sign that says, "Do not press." Your hand starts moving before your brain finishes reading the warning. So I joined the game expecting complete nonsense, and somehow my expectations were still too low. The moment I spawned in, I realized this wasn't a normal Brainrot simulator. Players weren't peacefully collecting creatures and building empires. No, this was a battlefield disguised as a meme factory. Every player had a base. Every base contained valuable Brainrot characters, and every single person in the server was looking for an opportunity to commit grand larceny. It was essentially a neighborhood where everyone left their front doors open and then acted surprised when someone walked away with the television. The first thing I noticed was how suspicious everyone behaved. Nobody trusted anybody. You could stand near someone's base for 2 seconds, and suddenly they'd start circling around you like a security guard protecting a national treasure. I wasn't even stealing anything yet. I was standing there trying to figure out the controls. But apparently in Steal a Brainrot, existing within a 50-foot radius of another player automatically makes you a criminal suspect. The paranoia was unbelievable. Every player looked like they were one bad experience away from installing laser tripwires around their property. After exploring for a bit, I started understanding the economy. Players would collect increasingly rare Brainrot creatures, each worth more than the last. The stronger your collection became, the richer you got. Sounds normal enough, right? Wrong. Because unlike most tycoon games where your progress is protected, this game practically encouraged betrayal. The moment somebody looked away, another player would swoop in like a seagull spotting an unattended French fry. Hours of progress could disappear faster than your motivation to finish homework during summer vacation. And that's exactly what made the game fascinating. Most Roblox experiences reward patience and grinding. This one rewarded opportunistic chaos. Every server felt like a social experiment conducted by a scientist who had completely given up on ethics. I watched players form alliances only to immediately betray each other 5 minutes later. One guy spent 10 minutes helping another player defend his base. They were practically brothers. Then a rare Brainrot spawned, and suddenly the friendship evaporated. The betrayal was so fast it would have given a soap opera writer whiplash. It felt like watching a documentary about trust being hunted to extinction. Then something happened that completely changed my mission. While exploring different servers, I noticed a particular player who seemed absurdly rich. This guy wasn't walking around with average Brainrot creatures. He had monsters so rare, they looked like they required a blood sacrifice and 3 lunar eclipses to obtain. Every player in the lobby kept gathering around his base like tourists visiting a famous landmark. He had the kind of collection that instantly makes everyone else question their life choices. Naturally, I became curious. How long had this guy been playing? Was he secretly the inventor of Brainrot? Did he own stock in the concept of nonsense itself? There had to be a story. So I began investigating. What followed felt less like Roblox and more like an archaeological expedition. The deeper I looked, the more evidence I found suggesting this account had been around since the earliest days of the game's existence. Rare items nobody else possessed, exclusive rewards, strange collectibles that newer players had never even heard of. This wasn't merely an experienced player. This was a digital fossil, a living relic from an ancient era of Brainrot history. The Roblox equivalent of finding a dinosaur casually shopping for groceries. Every clue pointed toward one conclusion. I might have found one of the first ever Steal a Brainrot accounts. The more I observed, the more ridiculous the situation became. Players weren't trying to steal from each other anymore. They were trying to steal from him. Entire groups formed temporary alliances for the sole purpose of raiding this guy's base. It looked like a fantasy movie, where dozens of heroes unite to defeat an ancient dragon guarding a treasure hoard. Except instead of a dragon, it was a Roblox avatar standing next to an army of Brainrot creatures with names that sounded generated by a malfunctioning microwave. Watching these attacks unfold was incredible. Players would sneak around corners, coordinate movements, and launch carefully planned operations. Most failed spectacularly. The account owner clearly knew what he was doing. Every attempted robbery ended with thieves running for their lives while clutching whatever scraps they managed to grab. It was less Ocean's 11 and more Ocean's 11, if everyone forgot the plan. Eventually, I decided there was only one logical course of action. I needed to attempt the heist myself. Not because I expected success, not because I wanted riches, but because history demanded it. You don't find a legendary account and walk away. That's not how adventure stories work. So I began preparing. I studied patrol patterns. I observed player behavior. I analyzed weaknesses in the base layout. For a brief moment, I convinced myself I was some kind of master strategist. Then the operation started, and everything immediately went wrong. Within seconds, I realized I had dramatically overestimated my abilities. My stealth skills resembled a marching band attempting espionage. Every movement attracted attention. Every decision made the situation worse. At one point, I accidentally ran directly toward the person I was trying to avoid. The entire mission collapsed so quickly it deserved its own speedrun category. Somehow, through a combination of luck, confusion, and what I can only describe as divine intervention, I managed to escape with a stolen Brainrot. Was it valuable? Not particularly. Was it worth the effort? Absolutely. Because the experience perfectly captured what made the game entertaining. Every success felt earned. Every failure became a story. Every interaction generated unpredictable chaos. The funniest part was what happened afterward. The moment players realized somebody had successfully stolen something from the legendary account, the server descended into complete madness. Everyone wanted a piece of the action. Suddenly, dozens of players launched simultaneous attacks. The peaceful balance shattered. Bases were raided. Alliances collapsed. Trust disappeared entirely. It was like throwing a single slice of bread into a pond and watching every duck within a 5-mile radius declare war. The server transformed into a carnival of panic and greed. People were running everywhere. Brainrot creatures changed ownership every few minutes. Nobody knew who was winning anymore. The original account owner looked completely unfazed. If anything, he seemed entertained. This probably wasn't his first experience surviving a server-wide uprising. At that point, I realized something important. The reason this account felt legendary wasn't merely because of its age. It represented the history of the game itself. Every rare item told a story. Every collectible marked a different chapter. Every achievement reflected countless hours spent surviving the chaos. New players saw treasure, veteran players saw memories. That's what made the account special. It wasn't simply rich, it was historic. In a genre built around constant stealing, constant progression, and constant change, surviving long enough to become a legend is impressive. Most players come and go. Trends rise and fall. Memes appear and vanish. Yet somehow this account remained, accumulating relics from every stage of the game's evolution. The longer I played, the more I understood why people were fascinated by it. It served as proof of how quickly Roblox communities create their own myths and legends. Give players enough time, and they'll turn ordinary accounts into folklore. Somebody finds a rare item. Stories spread, rumors grow. Eventually, the account becomes larger than life. That's exactly what happened here. By the end of my adventure, I wasn't thinking about stolen Brainrot anymore. I was thinking about how absurdly creative Roblox communities become when left unsupervised. Only Roblox could produce a game where players steal nonsense creatures from each other while simultaneously creating historical figures out of veteran accounts. Only Roblox could transform internet Brainrot into a functioning economy. Only Roblox could make me spend hours investigating what essentially amounted to digital meme archaeology. And honestly, I respect it. Because despite all the chaos, the betrayals, the failed heists, and the overwhelming amount of Brainrot, I had more fun than expected. Every server felt alive. Every player contributed to the madness. Every session generated stories worth telling. As for whether I truly found the first ever steal a Brainrot account on Roblox, nobody knows for sure. Maybe there are older accounts hidden somewhere. Maybe another veteran is quietly sitting on an even bigger collection. Maybe the real first account logged in years ago and retired to a peaceful life away from the endless cycle of Brainrot theft. But from everything I saw, this account felt like a genuine piece of Roblox history. A monument built from memes, persistence, and an alarming willingness to defend virtual nonsense creatures with military precision. And honestly, that's probably the most Roblox sentence I've ever said.